And we are live.
Hello, everyone. This is the Blossom team again here and our happy hour, first happy hour of 2022. So nice to be here again. Happy New Year. Even though it didn't start as I believe and feel most of us wanted to. Let's be thankful and count our blessings still. I'm especially blessed today to be here and with my amazing team and our special guest speakers. And we'll introduce everybody in just a little bit. Before I'll do that, I want to address the fact that we're all going through a very hard time as a community. Because of the current situation with COVID, as all of us who have children, we get calls from school, family members also all over the world, friends. I don't think there is one person who doesn't know somebody right now who's been affected or had at least a scare to be in close contact with COVID. So I just want to say with that we're in this together. And even though it sounds cliche, it's true. We are in this together and we are holding hands here and giving each other the emotional support because that's what we can give each other right now. And I think we should continue sharing and being as empathetic as we can during this very difficult times. But on the other hand, like I said, I'm excited to be here today in our happy hours. So salute for that. Everybody has their cup of coffee or favorite choice of beverage. I'm excited because I have my team here. Diana, she's our program manager. She's saying hello. Cindy, our fundraising and also volunteer coordinator. And Jida, she's our marketing manager. We're missing a few other team members today, but thank you for being here. So blessed. And we have amazing guest speakers to start off the year. I'm super excited to have you guys here with us. I'm gonna actually let Cindy introduce our guest speakers. So go ahead, Cindy.
Hi, everyone watching and watching the recording later. My name is Cindy, and I'm really pleased to introduce our guest speakers today. Perfect timing for this, considering I don't think anyone really could have predicted the current state of the health situation and how when any of us who are parents can remember back to when we became parents and gave birth and how overwhelming it could be, how isolating it could be, and then you add this kind of situation on top of it. So today we are really honored and blessed to have Supporting Mamas here. Supporting Mamas is a nonprofit organization that helps women focus on the maternal mental health surrounding pregnancy and postpartum period. So with that, today I'm introducing Allyson as well as Cheryl from Supporting Mamas. Take it away, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you so much for asking us to join you today. It's such an honor to be here. Yes, and I just wanted to go back to what Carolina said about COVID. This is an incredibly stressful time to be a parent. I don't have to tell any of you this. It's, we're all feeling it no matter how old our children are. And so what Alice and I want to talk about today is first, the resources that are out there, how to get help, some of the things you might be experiencing that maybe you weren't aware of, and also the services that we offer at Supporting Mamas. I can start a little bit by sharing who we are and what we do. So Alice and I run Supporting Mamas. We're a small nonprofit serving the San Francisco Bay Area and now surrounding counties. Since COVID, we actually expanded our reach out to all the surrounding counties in the Bay Area, which is really exciting, so we can reach more women. One of the silver linings of COVID meant that almost all people had access to the internet, and so we were able to reach more folks with our online support groups. than we had when we were just in person. So we run 3 free weekly drop-in support groups every week. And we also have a twice monthly rather, Spanish language support group as well. All the information is on our website. We also have a phone and text support line, which anyone in the San Francisco Bay Area and surrounding can text us, call us, email us, Facebook message us, get us through Instagram. We're on everything and everywhere. And we want to help. We have a huge list of resources, county agencies, other referrals, other clinicians and providers that can help with anything you're going through.
Yeah, and on that point, if you go to our website, kind of to Cheryl's point, we've got it all organized kind of by there's a tab called Get Help Now, and that's where we list our support groups as well as other ones, including Blossom Birth. Support for all different kinds of parents, Medi-Cal, the online email support and phone and text, including ours, as well as therapists that are local, therapists that offer teletherapy, telehealth, doulas, abortion support, information for dads. So we've kind of got, we're running the gamut. And then as well as a little bit of information about perinatal mood and anxiety disorders, what that means. When we say perinatal, we mean the pregnancy period as well as postpartum, about up to 2 years postpartum. So we've got resources and information there about just what that means and what that looks like if you or someone you know is starting to show signs of anxiety and depression and things of that nature.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and we want to say too, to make everyone aware, this is so common. It really happens to so many women. The reason Allyson and I are here running Supporting Mums is because it happened to us. It's they say 1 in 5, but I think anecdotally it's probably more than that. A huge number of women will struggle with anxiety, particularly. Often we just hear the term postpartum depression, which is kind of the umbrella term, but a lot of women don't fall into that category, and they might just be having extreme anxiety or OCD, PTSD, any of those kind of issues, either during pregnancy or after a child is born, if there's a traumatic childbirth, something like that. So there are some signs to look out for. If a lot of us hear about the baby blues, which is usually typically within the first 2 or 3 weeks. There's like huge dip in mood, which happens to, I think, 100% of women after they have a baby. And typically those feelings go away after a few weeks. If they stick around, if you're having highs and lows and long periods of crying, extended, times of anxiety and panic, if you're not feeling that attached to your baby, you love your baby, but maybe you're just not kind of connecting and feeling that attachment. Maybe you're not sleeping at all. Maybe you're sleeping a few hours a night. And that's kind of an oxymoron, because we know you have a new baby. You're not going to get the same amount of sleep as before. But if you're having difficulty sleeping even when the baby's asleep, maybe you've got those spiraling thoughts, those are all good signs that maybe you just need a little bit more support. And that's where we come in. So you or a family member, anyone can contact us. We offer, like we said, free support, validation. We'll just help get you connected, help navigate you through this experience, because it doesn't last forever. It really is temporary and it's treatable. And you will feel better once you get some support.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else you wanted us to cover? We could go, I don't know how much more time you want to allocate us, but we can, Allyson and I could talk about this for hours. So I'm very conscious of not just running away with the whole half hour.
Oh no, this is so important. I guess to understand a little bit more what support means. I know there are support groups. I apologize for that. There are support groups, and what happens in a support group, I guess, and what can people kind of expect, and how active do they have to participate or not participate?
Yeah,
I love those questions. Yes. Well, so Alice and I both facilitate the support groups, different times of the day, different times of the week. And we've both been doing it for several years now. And it's actually one of my favorite times of the week because, you know, it's the time that we actually get to chat with mothers about how they're feeling. So what typically happens is usually in our groups, we usually get somewhere between 6, 10, maybe 12 people in a group. And we usually start off by just checking in to see how everyone's doing. You know, how was your week? What's going on with you? And once we've done check-ins, we'll usually dive into maybe a topic that's come up in the group. You know, oftentimes sleep obviously is a huge issue. We'll talk about sleep, we'll talk about anxiety and intrusive thoughts. We'll talk about relationships. How's everyone doing with their partner since having a baby? Because, you know, that puts a huge strain on relationships. And we always listen with non-judgment, with compassion, empathy. You know, Alison and I are peer supporters, which means we've been there. We know exactly what you're going through. And maybe everyone's circumstances are different. But I think what a lot of women and birthing people need is just kindness. They've been through a really life-changing experience, whether there was trauma there or not. You know, their world has completely changed. And, you know, you can often feel like you're just being shuffled from one stage of it to the next. And so what we like to do is offer this really safe space where mothers can come in and just check in. How are you really doing? Like, really? Everything else aside, you know, what's going on with your emotions? And
yeah. And it's not really meant to be a place to give advice or to feel like you have to accept someone's advice. We're really clear about that, although oftentimes it does. And we try to be really clear that, you know, don't offer advice unless it's asked for per se, but we've had some really good conversations oftentimes about what works best, and all under the lens of, you know, there isn't really any one way to do this. And so, as Cheryl said, it really is just meant to be incredibly supportive, and then reminding you that you aren't the only one going through this. I can't tell you how many times that, you know, someone has expressed, I thought it was just me, or I'm so glad to hear other people do this too. So I think it's kind of that, again, going back to that word, but it really is a safe space just to talk about all those things. And you don't have to have a diagnosis of a mood disorder. And so we're really clear about that as well. And Cheryl and I always share our own experience, and oftentimes people feel a lot more comfortable talking about that once one of us does. So not a requirement, but it often does come up. And then from there, a lot of times we help someone find a therapist afterwards. And so that can be kind of a one-on-one, you know, either via email or telephone. So that support continues that way. And then we also have as Cheryl mentioned, the phone, text, and email support. And similar to that, it's a spot to listen. It's not an emergency hotline. It's not for crisis, but it's just a spot to listen, and then try to get that person into the resources that they might need or want.
And just to add too, yeah, Alison's completely right. We're not a crisis service in that we don't run 24/7, but we do aim to respond to all, you know, our volunteers aim to respond within a couple of hours, if not, usually it's much faster than that. But we also, you know, we can help navigate a family who's in crisis as well. We are well connected with the local psychiatric emergency response team, with NAMI within the county. You know, there's with El Camino's behavioral health has an amazing unit now, a women's specialty unit within their new Scrivener building. And that is just for women going through maybe crisis, maybe needing, you know, more than just a sort of community support group. And then, yeah, as Alison said, it's therapy, it's psychiatrists, medications possibly, if that's something that you need. We can help connect a mother with all of those things. And it's difficult because, you know, the journey to finding a therapist is not easy. So many barriers, insurance being a huge one. But so, yeah, we like to try and help as much as we can to get someone connected to that resource.
And oftentimes too, it's a partner that's calling, or the grandparent or a friend that's calling our services and asking for help. So we really can support any of those people that are surrounding the person that's given birth. So we do our best to walk any of those individuals through that.
And I have a question, if I may.
Sorry, so it's safe to say that you it's the whole spectrum, right? From the crisis situation where you support somebody through who is already diagnosed or not yet diagnosed to a crisis, but also I just want to emphasize this, it's also just self-care, right? Like you said, Cheryl, it's a big milestone to become a mother, to give birth, and it shouldn't be taken for granted, and self-care is important during that time. And so just to go to a session, to even listen, like you said, Allyson, I'm not the only one feeling this. That is also valuable. I would love for people to really understand that it doesn't need to be to the point where it's already a crisis or where it's already somebody diagnosed. It can be as simple as just really wanted to be with other people going through the same things. So yeah, thank you. This is wonderful. Sorry, Cindy, I know you were going to ask a question.
No problem. Yeah. I just took a quick peek at your website, and I noticed that you have an adjusting to motherhood, you have a growing to motherhood. And when I click on each of those, it's very clear at what times and what days those are on. That's wonderful. And did you recently introduce a Spanish group as well?
Mm-hmm. We did. It's twice a month.
Okay, wonderful. And so for that, did one of you speak Spanish, or did you find a volunteer to help you?
Yeah, we have a bilingual social worker who facilitates that group for us. So if you're on the homepage, you can see the information and download the flyers for each group. So that's for anybody, providers, families, anyone can download those flyers to get to the group. To actually access the Spanish-speaking group is a slightly different link than the English-speaking groups, but all three of the English-speaking groups, the Monday evening, the Thursday morning, and the Thursday evening, are all the same information. But a mother or someone looking for information for the support group would need to email us, and our email address is on there. It's info@supportingmamas.org, and that's just so that we can keep the login information, discreet, private, and just share it with the person who's going to be attending. But then once they've attended our groups, we invite them to our private Facebook group. We have a good number, a few hundred local mothers in that group too, which is a really nice space because everyone's kind of graduated or is in the, going through our groups right now. It's a really, really kind and safe space because everyone has the expectation. They've all been through our group. They all know that it's a no drama space. And so there's a lot of really good conversations that happen in there as well. It's a nice way, particularly while we're also isolated still, to get connected to a village, because it's so important to get your mum village when you're having your baby.
I think it's my favorite place on the internet. It's just so kind and no shaming, and everybody's just so helpful.
That's great. I have one more question. Yeah. So for anyone who might be watching this who isn't actually expecting currently, but who might know somebody who had a baby, are there any kind of, warning signs that you typically would ask that person to watch for in their friend or loved one?
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky because a lot of mental health issues don't surface, or rather, as functioning women and birthing people, we manage to keep a lot of our, sort of mental health struggles kind of under the surface. But there's something about going through the process of birth and having a new baby, and our emotions are everywhere. A lot of times those emotions and mental health issues just come bubbling up to the surface. So sometimes there really is no sign at all. Interestingly, postpartum is one of the most common times that women are diagnosed with bipolar, and they might have been bipolar their whole lives, but it hasn't become apparent until they've had a baby. So it is difficult. But that said, of course, there are obvious symptoms. If a mother is, or a woman is, talking in a way that she's sort of indifferent about the baby, indifferent about the pregnancy, hasn't connected with the fact she's having a baby, doesn't connect with the bump. We've all seen women lovingly stroking bumps and getting ready for the baby. If she's not doing any of those things, it's just a sign. It's just a sign that really she's disconnecting and that she could do with some support. And then in postpartum, I mean, there's some obvious signs, like we said at the top. If she's not sleeping, if she's not eating, if she's not really connecting with baby again, those are kind of the biggest warning signs. But there are lots of little ones that are hard to catch, particularly now because we're so isolated from each other. We're not seeing each other much in person. Mothers might not have family members coming around that often, so it is very difficult. If in doubt, reach out to us. We're always happy to check in with someone, or just listen and see how we can help.
And I want to share too, there is a self-assessment quiz on our website, and it does list a lot of those things that Cheryl mentioned. So, and again, to her point, some stuff is really tricky. So postpartum anxiety is actually one of the is more common than postpartum depression. And the depression side is what looks like kind of that indifference and apathy, in addition to some sadness. But I think oftentimes we think of depression and we think sad, when in reality, it can really mean more of the indifference. On the anxiety end, it can look like a mom being really paranoid and not wanting to leave baby with anybody. But again, COVID's kind of made that really tricky, because that's adding another layer of, I don't trust anybody watching my baby because of this. So that becomes really tricky as well. But I think that, and then in addition to something called intrusive thoughts, which I think doesn't get brought up as much as it could, but that's really often tied to anxiety or OCD. And that's when really upsetting, disturbing thoughts will enter your mind of either, harm coming to your baby, and that it's upsetting and you don't want to do it, but it doesn't mean that anything is actually going to happen. And so that's those are another kind of sign. And oftentimes moms will say that they've experienced that, and human beings in general experience that quite a bit. But that can be a really big sign. And that's really important for a mom to be able to talk to someone that they trust, who knows what that looks like and knows that it doesn't mean that, that she's going to act or do something. And then of course there's warning signs for the more rare, which is, psychosis. And there's information about that on our website, but that's incredibly rare, like 1 in 1,000 births. So yeah, but the self-assessment quiz is on our website. So someone could go there and send that to their friend and just say, are you feeling this way? Is any of this resonating with you? And then, as Cheryl said, kind of send them our way. Yeah.
And I think, Cheryl, what you said earlier about how it's possible for the, new mom to feel like to keep it under, I can relate to that. So it was only a few years ago where I discovered that one of my child birth experiences is actually considered traumatic. I didn't know what traumatic encompassed. And then I learned that after the fact. And that was just a number of years ago. And so I'm glad that you're here to support moms, especially at a time when, going out and meeting in groups isn't really possible. So I think the online effort's really great. And thank you for also talking about intrusive thoughts. As you said, probably doesn't get spoken about enough, but I'm sure anyone who probably feels a little bit of guilt or perhaps even fear of saying that, because they're probably worrying about being judged for having had those thoughts. And I think when we talk about it in forums like these, it helps normalize it. So people hopefully aren't so worried about that, and then get help.
Yeah, that was my experience too, Cindy. I didn't tell anybody for 2 years. It's hard, but we've been there, we get it. And you're not the only one, and you're not a bad mom for having those thoughts or feeling that way.
Yeah. And I would add on to your point too, Cindy, and thank you for sharing that and being vulnerable. With the trauma piece, I think a lot of women before they get pregnant and during pregnancy aren't really told that they could, or if they are told, there could be, negative outcomes. When it does happen, it is traumatic. And I think a lot of people will come out of the birth and have had providers, OBs, nurses say to them, oh, but your baby's fine, you're fine, so that's okay. If it feels traumatic, it was traumatic. If it feels like trauma to you, it was trauma. yes, baby's fine and alive, and maybe mum is healthy and fine, but there's a lot of stuff in there that needs processing and unpacking. And so, we, like you just said, we just want to, validate, normalize that, and say your experience is your unique experience, and you're allowed to feel all the feelings around that experience, So thank you for saying that as well, Cindy.
I love that. That was beautifully said. I think a lot of times we're so scared about, what are people going to think? And to be able to express that and to say all your feelings are valid, especially in today's world. We just went through a whole thing with COVID and going back to school. And, I self-care, right? I took a shower before because I was feeling like, oh my God, like I can feel myself. You look in a mirror, you don't feel good. You're like, what is going on? And you're just down. And, then just taking those little steps and knowing it's okay. It's okay to feel this. Like, it's a tough time. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with it.
And to follow on that too, something we always say in group is you can hold two thoughts at the same time, right? You can say, I love my baby with all my heart, but I really don't like being a mother right now. I love the time I'm spending with my baby, but God, I really just want to sleep. Those things can both be true. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
We as mothers, I think a lot of us try to follow that perfectionism thing, and particularly if we're the type of people who've, followed that sort of pathway. When we get to having a baby, it's difficult to let go of some of that control. And I think a lot of it is just trying to surrender as much as you can to your new normal. And that's a phrase that gets thrown around all the time, but it really is true. And the more you can let go and just kind of surrender to it, just to accept that you're in the trenches. This is going to be tough for a while, but it won't always be like this. It really does get better. As they get older, as they hit their milestones and they start, smiling and then talking and giggling and then, all those things you have to come. And they are so, so fun. But right now, in the first, 3 to 6 months, maybe longer, it's tough. So yeah, I just wanted to add that it's okay if you feel like, what have I done? This is not what I was thinking it was going to be like. Because I think that flashed through all of our minds at some point.
Yeah. It's okay if you don't love it. And to your point, Gita, your experience matters too. Our purpose is not just to give all of ourselves for this person and have nothing left for us. Your experience in birth, your experience postpartum, all of that, your experience right now as a parent during COVID, all of that matters. It's important. You should be honored.
I love that. Thank you so much for everything that was said. It's so true. We have to allow it. We have to respect it, and we accept it. Just accept it and be okay with it. And it doesn't need to be perfect, right? Very, very nice. Thank you so much. I think that we're ready to hand it over to Diana, that she was going to go through doulas how doulas are able to support right now families during COVID. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Alyssa and Cheryl, for sharing your resources and your insights, because the mental health is so important for everyone who's parenting during COVID. And like Carolina mentioned, doulas, for anyone who doesn't know what a doula is, there's birth doulas and there's postpartum doulas, and they're professionals who provide physical, emotional, and informational support to parents along the parenting journey. And they're really an incredible resource to help improve outcomes, physical and mental, for anyone having a baby. So, and during COVID, as we know, hospital policies and restrictions are ever changing. So I just wanted to acknowledge for anyone who has a doula that you might be feeling uncertain, anxious, maybe frustrated with not knowing what's going on with the hospital, getting different answers when you try to ask. So we just want to acknowledge how difficult that might be for you. And maybe some encouraging things to remember is One, doulas are essential to your care, so they may not fall under the standard visitor policy that a hospital may have. So always ask. And also another thing to remember is that, check in regularly with your hospital or birth facility. Check in with your doula regularly. Be the advocate for yourself to ask. Don't be afraid to be the squeaky wheel. Ask and get information and check in and see if there's any documentation that you might need to provide ahead of time so that you and your doula are prepared to get you the best odds of them being able to go with you to your birth. And what else did I want to say? Yeah, just remember that you are doing this, you can do this. And if you don't have a doula yet and you're thinking about it, but maybe you're on the fence because you're like, oh, I don't know if I should look for a doula if I don't know if the hospital will allow it, I would say it doesn't hurt to at least look and ask around and get some information. So Blossom does have a Help Me Find a Doula referral service for birth and postpartum doulas. And my team can help put the link in the chat. So yeah, I would say don't let that deter you from at least looking into it if you are interested in getting a doula, because doulas are still out there. They're still looking to serve families, and even if doula support looks different, even if it is partially or all virtual, it's still helpful, even if it's not what you may have initially had in mind. So doulas are still there for you, and they want to be supporting families during this time. So don't be afraid to ask.
Thank you, Diana. We love to be able to help out. So even if you just have questions, please reach out. Not a problem at all. I'm also going to just quickly go through some of the classes coming up for January. By the way, we are teaching at the park still. Our families, moms are feeling comfortable with some moms wear masks, some don't, but we definitely keep a nice distance, everyone on their mats, and the teacher takes off the mask once she starts teaching. We also have some online yoga classes, and of course all the other classes, most of them are online, but the infant massage, for example, happening January 27th. It's a 3-week series, January 27th, February 3rd, and then the 10th from 11 to 1:30. That one is at the park in Las Palmas. If somebody from my team can please put the link on the Facebook chat, I would appreciate that. There are still some spots left. Rini is an amazing teacher. Definitely encourage you to sign up for that. And then we also have Lorena Martinez talking about functional nutrition for pregnancy. There's also a few spots left for her class on Saturday the 29th from 11 to 12. That class is online. Yes, that one is online. And then something super exciting and new that we're teaching at Mitchell Park it's called Get Strong. It is for prenatal and postnatal moms. And I'm super excited to be able to offer another type of fitness class other than yoga. Our community was asking for this. So here, this is what we have. We're excited that this class is also growing. Please check it out. Aside from that, we have a new teacher. Well, she's been with Blossom for a while, but now she has her official class starting next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Nancy will be teaching online. So super excited for her to start as well. If you have any questions about any classes or anything else that comes up, please email us at blossombirthandfamily.org. Any of our team members will be able to help you. And like I said, we welcome any question. Let me know, team, if I'm forgetting anything. I don't think so. No, we're good to go. We haven't had much of our coffee or tea this time, right?
I did.
Okay.
We're all enjoying the discussion. It's a very good, important discussion.
Yes, you know, I have
engaged.
to say, it feels a little heavy because it's very deep subjects, and we started this morning with a very intensive training, and I'm holding it still in my heart. And then this discussion, the importance of mental health and how we actually need to get out there to find that support, right? Also, you know, carries a weight. So I feel it. I'm sure you guys feel it too. But those are things that need to be addressed and need to be talked about. So I'm very excited that we're here today talking about all this. Yeah.
We're grateful for you all having us too.
No, it's great. And as a nonprofit, I mean, you know what it's been like recently. So if anyone out there is listening, and keep in mind that there are always nonprofit organizations that you can support, like Blossom and like supporting mommies.
Yes.
Can't do this alone.
And how wonderful that we're coming together to be stronger.
Yeah.
Stronger to help the community even more, right?
I love these partnerships.
Yes. So thank you so much. Thank you to all of you for being here today, everybody watching. Thanks again. Have a great night, and see you in February.
Thank you.
You all, bye.
Bye. Take care.